So silence your cell phones, hold your applause, and tune into the truth.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame in.
From the 315 to the world, this is the Heel to Face podcast.
The cream of the crop! Wow, man, freaked out!
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face.
I said, are you ready?
From Armory Square in downtown Syracuse, New York, let's send it now to Dustin, Brandon, and Jared.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
Another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast is on the air. I'm joined as always with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on the Twitter or just the Twitter at Icebreaker21. Myself on the Twitter and Instagram at KRock Jared, and the show on Twitter at Heel to the Face. A lot of talk about coming off of Clash of Champions this past Sunday night. NXT's debut on the USA Network. A big Raw and SmackDown. We know that the penultimate show of SmackDown, the penultimate episode at least of SmackDown on the USA Network occurred this week. All talking about, we'll start things off with Clash of Champions. I watched, this was a pay-per-view I watched 100% without any audio the whole time. I was actually driving home, or riding home safely, from Washington, D.C., and it took longer than expected, so I watched the entire pay-per-view on my phone. I didn't end up turning up the volume because the person who was driving preferred to listen to what they wanted to, so I watched it in silent. And did I miss anything by not having the audio turned on?
I don't think so. I don't think it was anything. It's like watching an NFL game at the bar or any sporting event at the bar. You know, you can have it like we've had games on in the studio here, and you know, you can watch it. You don't need to. It's not one of those things you need to like absolutely have to hear anything. I mean, I didn't hear anything memorable. I mean, maybe some of our listeners could, kind of.
I did hear something. Well, skipping from Clash of Champions, the highlight of me this entire week was Monday Night Raw. We talk about audio. We talk about seeing things. Did you catch what I'm talking about on Monday Night Raw? The highlight of me. It's un-wrestling related, I guess. It's in-ring action related.
What was it? I'm not sure.
It was literally, I was watching Monday Night Raw, and I thought, well, maybe this is my television screwing up here. And the graphics for the matches they were announcing were all upside down. It's actually on our little sheet here we have. They actually mentioned it. The graphics were all upside down, and they're saying, like, tonight, Sasha Banks teams up with Bayley. Don't forget the King of the Ring finals is tonight. And it got to the third one, and it was Renee Young's turn to say what match was tonight. And it got to the third one, and Renee Young was like, have these graphics been upside down this whole time?
I do remember that.
And then all of a sudden they cut. They didn't finish it. They cut, and they showed like a backstage segment. But it was just like Corey Graves was like, and don't forget the King of the Ring finals tonight, Baron Corbin versus Chad Gable. And then Renee Young's like, and Sasha, are these graphics upside down? Like,
now that you point that out,
and then it was like,
I did catch that.
And let's skip the back now.
You know, here's my thing though. I thought honestly, I didn't even think it was that much of a goof. And now until you mentioned the whole Renee thing, I wasn't really paying attention to the Renee part. But I thought of it maybe just I was kind of watching it, but kind of taking care of my daughter. But I thought maybe it was Bray Wyatt kind of screwing things up because Bray Wyatt,
like when they do the promo for him, you know what I mean, kind of like, and Bray Wyatt did actually show up. So here's one thing: I didn't catch this at Clash of Champions because I watched Clash of Champions on my phone. I was kind of dazing out. It was getting late. And I actually turned it off when I saw the credit come up. When Seth Rollins had the championship belt, he was on the rampway. The credit came up. I said, all right, this pay-per-view's got nothing else going on. Bray Wyatt made the appearance, I'm assuming after the credit that showed up on the screen, that the pay-per-view was over.
I didn't see it either until afterwards. So yes. I'm with you. As soon as the graphic, so that, like, to me, when they put that graphic up where it's like, the WWE,
all rights reserved, blah, 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 copyright, etc.
Right in the blur, right in the bottom corner. Yeah. As soon as I saw that, I was like, click. All right, I'm out.
Yeah,
I didn't see it either. So I guess we both missed it. And then I, obviously they went to it on Monday Night Raw, and I was like, oh, all right.
Now, so skipping to Bray Wyatt, he's now in the championship picture for Hell in a Cell. A great segment at the end of Monday Night Raw. How creepy was that? Him ending Monday Night Raw at the University of Tennessee. But my question is, do you hate this? Because I personally hate this. Because I do not want to see him in the title picture this early, because this is what happens with Umagas. This is what happens with Great Khali's. This is what happens with all these people who get these pushes. The problem is champions. One thing about champions, they all lose. So if he becomes the champion, eventually he's going to lose. He's not going to be champion forever. And more importantly, he's probably not going to be champion this time around. So if he loses to Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, we're literally looking at 2 weeks away. His push or his importance, his validation, Bray Wyatt's, everything that you fear about him just coming right back down.
Yeah, here's my thing, and I agree with you 100%. I think especially with this character evolving, the Fiend with Bray Wyatt, you really got to let it develop even more. I think it kind of gives him more of the allure, so to speak, where I enjoy it because it's like my wife was watching it. She's like, man, this is creepy. I'm like, I love it. This is great.
The perfect analogy is Andre the Giant was never WWE champion. Andre the Giant was never most companies' champions. For the reason is, well, if you put the championship on him, how are we going to take the championship off of him? So with Bray Wyatt, you look at it like this. If he takes on Seth Rollins, what you're saying is either he's going to beat Seth Rollins and he's going to have his push for a little bit longer, I guess, as champion, or he's going to lose Seth Rollins and his push is going to just end right there. But either way, his push is going to end sometime because to lose a championship, you have to, for the most part, outright lose.
There's one way to make this work. And it has to be like a I don't know, like a draw kind of thing, like where the champion retains and he doesn't look any less. We've seen that before with superstars. I remember Braun Strowman had it like that for a while. Rusev was like that for a while. Like those,
somebody comes out and maybe attacks him,
or it's just it's a double count out.
Yes,
something like that, or it's it's
going to be inside Hell in a Cell. So again, this is a tough one.
Yeah, that's where it's going to be a little funky. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I mean, he's either going to, I think he has to win then, because if he loses outright in his first match officially as the Fiend, then
he had his first match as the Fiend versus Finn Balor.
Well, we knew. Here's the thing though, the difference with Finn is we all knew Finn was on his way out, so I don't even count that.
I mean, I don't even count that. He's only been here since SummerSlam, which is less than a month and a half ago. That he's been back as the Fiend, and if he's already going to lose or have to look up at the lights,
this is what
1,
I mean.
2, 3.
It's a like for me, like not to call Finn Balor not legit because he's very legit, but like we were talking weeks before the match itself that he was on his way out. So to me, it wasn't really legitimate because we already knew he was going to lose anyways. So I mean, it would be more of it's more of a legitimate win if he beats Seth Rollins, who's the champion. So that's how I look at it. It's nothing against Finn Balor. I love Finn Balor. I wear the Balor Club gear. I love it. But in that situation, we all knew he was leaving. So at that point, he was just kind of written off TV for a while.
Well, from one championship to another championship that won't be decided at Hell in a Cell because 2 nights before Hell in a Cell, according to WWE probably, and all the powers that be financially, there's something even bigger going on that weekend, and that is the debut of SmackDown on Fox at Staples Center. They're bringing out the red carpet at 7:30. They're going to introduce people. That's kind of weird to me that they're going to be having a red carpet for a episode of SmackDown because it's not like the Hall of Fame ceremony. Charlotte Flair is not going to be showing up in a nightgown or a dress and heels. She should be showing up in her gear, with pulling the bag. It's kind of strange to me, I guess, having a red carpet
I don't know
for
why
an episode of SmackDown.
Very, very odd.
Yes.
Very odd.
But either way, they are putting out the red carpet or the blue carpet, whatever you say. And the main event for the first time since, I think, in 20 years, Brock Lesnar is going to be competing on Monday or on SmackDown.
You almost said Tuesday Night SmackDown, too.
Well, I almost said Monday Night Raw, but on SmackDown for the WWE Championship against Kofi Kingston. I'm going to imagine he's leaving that inaugural SmackDown with the belt against Kofi Kingston. So Kofi Kingston's championship reign is going to come to an end. This won't have anything to do with Hell in a Cell. So
sucks.
There won't be any SmackDown championship
press, dude. Like, I'm so sick of Brock Lesnar. I get it. He's a draw. They need to make a statement on Fox. I get it. It just sucks because Kofi's done such a good job, with that belt.
We saw this coming, regardless of happening at SmackDown. I saw that this was going to be the next target.
It just sucks, dude. I mean, I know you're a fan of Brock. I'm just not a fan of Brock. I'm just over it. I prefer to see him, Kofi drop the title to somebody that is going to be there full time. I'm a full time guy. That's how it works. Like I can't get on the Brock Lesnar train.
So the following week on SmackDown, they're going to have another draft, and where there will be no wild card rule. So they're putting an end to the wild card rule. Are you happy for this? I'm kind of confused a little bit because for my idea, I thought the wild card rule was put in place because of Fox, because wanting to see more of the stars. If somebody's hot, they want them over on SmackDown, if that's going to be the new A show. But that's not going to be the case. Fox is going to have their set roster. There's going to be people who are not going to get that Fox paycheck on SmackDown or are going to be stuck on Monday Night Raw. But the wild card rule is coming to an end. I mean, it kind of came to an end, essentially. They haven't been following the rule, per se, just letting everyone just do whatever
Show up
they
whenever
want.
they want. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I don't like it because you're limiting yourself to, essentially half the roster, if you think about it, because you're splitting up the roster. I don't like it because, I don't know how Fox is going okay with this, because are you going to put Roman Reigns on Raw or SmackDown? Are you going to put Seth Rollins on Raw or SmackDown? I mean, all these different decisions have to be made, and you're going to be splitting hairs, because what you want to have the whole company as a whole. And then, AJ Styles could go on Raw or could go on SmackDown. I don't like it because it's kind of watering down the product. I'm confused as to why Fox even was okay
I'm
with it.
fine with, as long as we have separate belts, then I think there definitely needs to be some transparency and there needs to be some difference because of that fact. I didn't like the wild card rule going on here while we have Raw and SmackDown different tag belts, Raw and SmackDown different women's belts. I mean, if you have 2 tag belts, but yet everybody's on every show, then have 1 tag belt. So if you're going to have 2 tag belts, you got to split it up. You got to have one team going for one belt, one team going for another belt. So I do like it in that regard. It's interesting nonetheless. One thing that I noticed died down, I might have even forgot about this if I didn't attend the Monday Night Raw. This is why, if you get a chance to attend wrestling, you got to attend it, because I wouldn't maybe even noticed this or really thought about it if I wasn't at the event itself. Because when you go to a wrestling show, you remember it vividly. I was at the Great American Bash 2005. I can run down that whole card. If I was to tell you what the Great American Bash 05 happened, if I didn't go there, I wouldn't even remember the main event. But the point of the matter is, when I went to Monday Night Raw on May the 20th, there was the introduction of the new 3rd hour of Raw that was going to be a little bit different. The black and white graphic, the more edgy, what did that last? Like, I was just watching Raw a few weeks ago. I wanted to bring this up, and I noticed
it didn't last long at all.
Yeah, well, that was the same night they introduced the 24/7 belt. Mick Foley's like, and now the 3rd hour of Raw is going to be more
extreme.
Yeah.
More dark. Yeah.
Yeah. And they had, like I said, and at the arena, the graphic turned to black and white.
I think they changed that pretty quick. Within a couple weeks, I'd have to say.
I want to say that lasted a week and maybe an additional
maybe
week.
2 weeks, maybe.
Because they used to put the graphic up for the matches that were in the 3rd hour, and they were like in the black and white.
It was, and they brought the lights down a little bit too.
Yeah, they brought the lights down into more of the NXT style.
Yeah.
And that lasted all of it. Yeah, like a week.
It was literally like a week or two maybe.
Yeah.
It didn't last long. Yeah. And now that you bring that up, and now it's like, yeah, what happened with it?
What happened? It just completely just fell right off. But speaking of NXT, it made its debut on the USA Network. I wasn't aware until I watched it that it was going to be a split broadcast.
Me either.
That it was going to be 1 hour on the USA Network and 1 hour on the WWE Network. So essentially, I guess I don't understand what the additional hour on the WWE Network is needed. Just keep it at the 1 hour then.
Now, the only thing I didn't check into though is the first hour was not on network, was it?
Correct. No, it was only the second hour was on the network. But I guess my question is, if it's going to be on the USA Network for only 1 hour, then what is the point of making it 2 hours?
Maybe it's to give WWE Network users value. That's the only logical reason.
So
it's odd.
So everyone wins, so that USA gets an hour of NXT while the WWE Network doesn't essentially lose programming.
Yeah, because a lot of WWE fans don't have cable. They're cord cutters. They just watch the network and that's about it. I mean, and actually, I think we were talking about this the last week or the week before. So Raws and SmackDowns are a month behind. So you can watch. So what are we? Third week of September.
Correct.
So third week of, and because I get the updates, I get like an email. It said, new Raw is on.
So if you completely staff all social media, you can watch Raw, SmackDown on the WWE Network. But you're just gonna be quite behind. Just if you're already treating wrestling like it's just another one of those television shows that's on the FX network, because people say it's not sport, it's TV. Well, I guess then you can kind of watch it that way. You just got to stay off all social media.
Yeah, which is hard to do because social media is everywhere. The internet's everywhere. So that's the tough part. That's why
you'll be watching WrestleMania in May.
Oof.
Does anybody, and that'd be a good question, does anybody watch wrestling?
A month behind.
Well, I guess does anybody watch wrestling like a television show? Like you've gone to people's houses before And you're like, hey, don't tell me what happens. I'm only on season 2. Or, hey, I just started watching this show. Or, even I just started reading this book or, whatever. Do people watch wrestling? Does anybody out there watch wrestling like that? Is anybody like, hey, I just started watching like 99 WWF Attitude Era. I'm currently on Monday Night Raws. I'm kind of seeing where this Austin versus McMahon thing's going to go. I can't wait to see what happens at King of the Ring 99. Like, does anybody watch wrestling like that, like an episodic television? Because, they always talk about we're the longest running episodic television show in history. Does anybody watch it like an episodic television show?
You know what? I'm kind of curious. See, hit us up on Twitter at Heel to the Face. Let us know if you're one of those people. If you
watch wrestling like an episodic television show.
Yeah, good for you if you do.
That would be very curious. So either way, AEW, that's going to be a good week. We're talking about SmackDown in 2 weeks on Fox. They've already created a Twitter handle that they're going to, speaking of episodic television show, they're going to treat it more like sport because of the fact that WWE is now on Fox. They got their own Twitter handle. They're really going all out with this. It's going to be WWE on Fox on Twitter. I think they have another Twitter handle as well that's going to be related to not just SmackDown, but like Fox covering all of WWE. They're going to have, I think, a Best of SmackDown show this upcoming weekend during the non-whatever football game you don't get in your market. Like if you get to 1 o'clock, it'll be on at 4. If you get to 4, it'll be on at 1.
Yeah, so
that kind of thing. So they're going to have a Best of SmackDown. I think they're having some other Best of SmackDown or Best of WWE show this upcoming Friday on Fox. Obviously, we've talked about FS1 getting that SmackDown recap show on Tuesday nights. They're going all out with this, but either way, 2 weeks. I can't believe it's finally here. We've been talking about this for over a year now. WWE going over to Fox. And same week, we're going to have AEW make its debut in Washington, D.C., October the 2nd. And then Hell in a Cell pay-per-view on October the 6th.
A lot going on.
So a busy week. Will we be seeing at Hell in a Cell a rematch, maybe, if you will? Chad Gable, Baron Corbin. I don't know what to be funny for this time, but or should I say King Corbin?
Oh, I'm still mad about that, by the way. That whole King Corbin.
Did you not see that coming from the start, though?
Unfortunately,
he was one of them. I thought when you look at the brackets, one of them that I saw right from the start.
It just sucks. Like, he was definitely one of the names. I was like, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, please tell me this isn't happening. So, what are we gonna do? I'm just, I'm mad. I wanted Gable. I really wanted Gable. Gable was. Gable is so good, and I feel like Vince is doing what Vince always does, and he always pushes the big guys and leaves these little guys, just kind of hanging. Speaking of that, speaking of another little guy, Cedric Alexander. I guess Paul Heyman, from what I was reading, Paul Heyman is a big fan of Cedric Alexander.
He had a good match in the pre-show against AJ Styles.
Well, here's the thing though,
in his hometown.
They're trying to bury him. They're trying to bury Vince is trying to bury Cedric Alexander. I don't know why. Cedric Alexander is really good. I'm thinking when I was reading stuff online, I think Paul Heyman's a huge fan of Cedric, which is why he's getting these matches. But I guess Vince isn't a big fan, and obviously through the years we all know Vince wants these big bruisers. I mean, he wants like the Braun Strowmans, the Luke Harpers, the Eric Rowans to do well.
Yes, but at the same time, it's not like he hasn't given many opportunities to people who aren't that.
We remember though, Daniel Bryan wasn't getting anything until like the fans said, "All right, come on, push him," and they finally listened, and we got the yes
Speaking of the fans, and I read Dave Meltzer. If you're watching this episodically, I read Dave Meltzer said last week, the guy who knows everything about professional wrestling, he says that exactly that. Luke Harper is just sitting out his contract. They've got nothing for him. He'll be leaving WWE. Obviously, he had to sit out his contract extra long because they made him pay back time for injury, so he couldn't leave. But they don't want him to go to AEW right away. But either way, they don't want to do anything with him, and they don't have anything for him. And they've told him that he is done as soon as his contract is. So he's sitting home getting paid, and then boom, there he is. Clash of Champions shows up. Luke Harper back in WWE. Everybody about that was completely wrong.
Yeah, well, here's the thing too. Like, I've noticed this, and I'm a fan of Meltzer. I'm okay with Meltzer, but he's wrong a lot. A lot of these rumors that he stirs up, I don't know if he gets it from like the janitor or something. I don't know what's going on, at the arena. I don't get it. Because because Luke Harper, I guess reportedly, I don't know who reported it, but I just saw it circulating on the social media realm that Luke Harper has signed an extension with WWE. So,
well, I mean, I assume he has to sign an extension because he did come to an end of his contract. But this whole thing of he specifically said Vince has not just like, hey, they don't have anything for him right now. They're not completely done with him. But nope, that wasn't the case. Luke Harper did throw out there himself his unhappiness. I mean, that's where this all got started, him asking for his release. But either way, they must have had some talks and negotiations because he's back. He's with Eric Rowan again.
So are the Bludgeon Brothers? Is it the Bludgeon Brothers
2.0? I don't.
What are they gonna? Are they gonna go with that name? Or are they just gonna go? Harper and Rowan. Like, what are we doing?
Here's the thing, and I don't want to see them back together in a tag team because that is where they both floundered last time.
But here's the thing, the one thing I did catch, and I know you didn't catch the audio side of it. I was just kind of popped in my head. I believe Corey Graves said, "Man, this is a bludgeoning by the Bludgeon Brothers." I believe.
Well,
I believe.
mean, I'm glad. I'm fine with them being together. I guess I just want to. I like that Eric Rowan is starting to go on his own,
and he's actually not that bad on the mic.
Yeah.
Eric Rowan's okay. Like he has. I think his promos have been okay. I think they've been fine. I feel
despite the fact of Michael Cole trying to kill it the other day. What was Michael Cole? I watched the interview you had with Eric Rowan, and he was just a little too over the top for me.
Yeah.
You tried to kill him. That kind of nonsense. Michael Cole, you've been in wrestling for like 25 years now. Stop acting like this is our first day of watching professional wrestling, WWE. Okay? Talk to them like wrestlers. Stop being like, he was attacked by Eric Rowan himself. Yeah. I don't remember exactly what the quote was that Eric Rowan said, but I just remember Michael Cole being saying something about, you tried to kill, how dare you try to kill Roman Reigns.
Yeah, like Michael Cole was a little over the top with it, and I thought Rowan did a good job. Rowan's done. I think Rowan. I like his delivery. I think it's very dark. This character's perfect for him. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with him and Daniel Bryan because obviously there's some unfinished business there.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I like Eric Rowan. Even if he's with Luke, I don't mind him with Luke Harper. I didn't mind him with Daniel Bryan, but I like him. Definitely as a singles competitor. I don't want him back one again, like in a tag team again.
Yeah,
I guess that's where these issues start. That's where Luke Harper gets, frustrated with his contract and wants out because you're not doing anything. These are two big guys. You talk about, Vince McMahon wanted bruisers. You got two of them right here.
2 points I want to make to kind of bounce around a little bit. NXT this week. So in the first hour, we saw Velveteen Dream lose his North American title.
Mm-hmm.
Roderick Strong wins that title, and the whole Undisputed Era, the whole crew's got titles. Now, what interests me is those guys are obviously clear cuts. They're the best faction in NXT. But there was a debut from NXT UK's Imperium. Have you seen those guys? Walter and Wolf. Remember Wolf from Sanity?
I do remember him from Sanity. Yes.
Imperium. These guys are pretty good. They made their thoughts known. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see Undisputed Era and Imperium. Maybe this will be something good for the TV side of things for the USA Network.
Well, and one thing I've curiously looked at is, and Royal Rumble tickets went on sale this week. Survivor Series tickets are already on sale. I've noticed that TakeOver isn't being mentioned for upcoming big-time events. For example, the travel package for the Royal Rumble in Houston in January doesn't include TakeOver tickets. It includes Worlds Collide tickets. And we remember the Worlds Collide thing with 205 and NXT and a bunch of different companies together kind of putting it on at the Access. I think they had a Worlds Collide tournament at Access this past year for WrestleMania. But that's what it is saying for, as these travel packages are going up for both Survivor Series and for the Royal Rumble coming up, is they're not advertising essentially. I think Survivor Series, actually, they are advertising a TakeOver, but for the Royal Rumble, they're advertising Worlds Collide. As well as WrestleMania, I've heard as well. WrestleMania, they're scheduling a Worlds Collide, and that's not part of your travel package. Because that's normally what you advertise. They advertise, for $4,000, you get a seat for TakeOver, a seat for the Royal Rumble, a seat for the Raw after, the SmackDown after. That's part of the show. But Worlds Collide apparently is going to be its own show. So that's weird. That must be taking off. We're going to start seeing less takeovers. Maybe NXT is going to get their own pay-per-view events. Only time will tell on that, but I noticed that the NXT TakeOver is not included with the Royal Rumble this year.
It's interesting. I guess we'll see how it unfolds.
Yes, to see if because again, we haven't seen 2 hours of NXT ever before, so I'm curious where they're going to go with this, and if it's going to be a third brand. I mean, you can only imagine they're going to have pay-per-views more than just the ones that piggyback off the big four WWE ones.
Continue with NXT really quick. What are your initial thoughts on how it did on that? I mean, it's only 1 week. How'd you think it did on that 1 hour show this week?
I mean, it was action-packed. They start things off right with that big women's match. Overall, yeah, I think it's great. I'm curious to see if it's going to be at Full Sail University every single week. I probably think it is.
Kind of like the Impact Zone?
Yeah.
Hopefully not as bad. I think, honestly, I think it's going to be at Full Sail. I mean, it looks good. I mean, the first hour looked good. The second hour looked good. It looks like there's going to be 2 hours of NXT, which is nice because you'll see some of your NXT favorites and some upcoming NXT stars more often. So I think that can be good, but you got to be careful with it. There's a fine line. You don't want to overexpose certain superstars. So, I mean, you want to keep some of the allure. So, WWE has to kind of work it out.
If you were AEW, now that you know that NXT is only running this 1 hour, and essentially the second hour is on the network, so it's not really considered too much competition, would you try to have AEW 9 to 11?
I don't think so. I think they're going to go right up against it. Here's the thing, too. Speaking, I'm glad you mentioned AEW. I was reading some articles online, and AEW took a shot at NXT and said, "Yeah, we have better wrestlers."
They also didn't look at NXT as competition as well. Yeah, I've heard from the Young Bucks and other people that they're not looking at NXT as competition.
Here's the thing,
because of the fact that they're not a developmental brand themselves. They're trying to say.
And here's the thing, though. I mean, obviously the words can be taken however you want to take it, but let's be honest. WWE always has, they're always going to have premier talents. It could be anybody from retired MMA or, guys that are not doing well in MMA, or Rob Gronkowski, guys like that. AEW is not going to get those guys. AEW is going to get, here's the thing though, that's going to be interesting. You're going to see guys and gals and, the indies that are going to be, I mean, AEW and WWE are going to be betting against each other for some of these talents, which is good because some of these indie talents are going to demand more money. Or command more money, I should say. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes because, as soon as an indie star is so big, everyone's like, oh, now he's definitely going to WWE. Not so fast anymore. AEW is going to be, they're going to make some moves. So it's going to be interesting to see. I wanted to see what you thought about that. Like it. I mean, obviously things get misconstrued. So I didn't take too much of it. I just thought it was interesting where, it is competition. It's wrestling. It's wrestling, it's NXT and AEW.
And that's when wrestling is the best, when there's competition.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Monday Night Wars, growing up 7, 8, 9, 10 years old during that time, that was some fun stuff, man. Like I had so much fun watching that because, WCW was kicking the crap out of WWE or WWF at the time. And then obviously things changed, then you saw the Attitude Era really getting in full gear, Stone Cold, The Rock, and DX. So hopefully we'll see some really good things, because of this kind of war, so to speak. Quote unquote. All
right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. Next week, we'll talk about the final SmackDown on the USA Network and get you more hyped for AEW. We'll be less than a week away from that. We'll be a week and a half away or so from the debut of SmackDown, which is kind of being treated like a pay-per-view when it hits the Fox airwaves with Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar, Hell in a Cell, and much more. And don't forget, I just saw this past week, WCW Thunder episode that was taped right here in Syracuse where David Arquette won the belt. The full episode is finally on the WWE Network, so check that out.
It's on there?
Yes, the full. They put Thunder on there a while ago, but they didn't update it to the more recent ones. Finally, they're updating. Now they're into the 2000s, so you can watch the full episode of WCW Thunder. I believe it was like May 3rd or April 20th from War Memorial right here in Syracuse, where the most controversial moment in professional wrestling occurred. David Arquette can pretty much officially put WCW in the toilet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. For Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, myself, K-Rock Jared, that's where you can find us on Twitter, and the show at Heel to the Face. Until next week.